The Knights take down the Aggies. UCF is a basketball school now?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first. This is not your first. This is your second listen of the day because UCF took down Texas A&M, the number 13 Texas A&M Aggies in basketball. Joining me, as he always does, is my guy, Andrew Glukov, to talk a little bit about the big win of UCF over Texas A&M.
Oh, this is huge. 11th all-time win against the rank opponent. Season opener, at home, court storming, coming back from double digits down. I mean, this is the stuff of the movies. You're down 11 points. It's 6 minutes and change left in the second half. I mean, that's a hard one to come back from. And guess what? They did. It was almost ethereal at how Texas A&M goes cold. UCF chips away at that lead. The crowd really gets into it. And as we know from watching football games, UCF fans, when they want to, they get loud. They get rowdy, and they are full of energy. And that energy propelled this team to a huge win over the 13th ranked team in the country and a court storming on opening night.
Andrew, UCF was picked to finish 11th, right, in the Big 12 by the media this preseason. This is a huge upset for a team picked to finish 11th in their own conference.
Well, this conference may be historically good.
Yeah.
The Big 12 is stacked from top to bottom. The fact you're 11th in this one, they could be easily number one, number two in another conference, and they're 11th in the Big 12. It just shows how stacked this conference is, and to get this started off on the right foot. Wait till conference play gets going, but you can't help but be excited. This was a team that it was a go for broke recruiting blaze by Johnny Dawkins. His job's on the line here. You thought Gus's seat was hot. Johnny Dawkins' seat's hot. And just going through that, bringing in guys like Mikey Williams, who's one of the biggest recruits out there. He was a transfer from Memphis. And then you got other players that have really stepped up and did something special. JJ Taylor came along for the ride from Memphis. This is a great story. I'm thrilled about seeing how Taylor, he started at Memphis, played a handful of minutes. He was pulled, and that was it. He was done. There were some off-court issues, and that was it for his time in Memphis. I believe it was 3 minutes. That's it. And so he and Mikey Williams, who also didn't get to play, come down to UCF. There was a lot they'll never play there. They're just getting there, and they'll go somewhere else because with the eligibility, they couldn't play last year. But lo and behold, here they are. And Taylor comes in, team's cold, hits a big three, starts to get the team warming up, and then the big block with 15 seconds to go that helped them hold on to that win was absolutely huge. He may not have been the leading scorer, but his play was definitely needed.
Look, we'll talk about UCF's player of the game here in a second, but I want to talk about some stats here. Only 34% from the field for UCF in this one. Texas A&M was only 36% from the field. But in the game that they lost by 3, free throws almost killed both of these teams. UCF was 22 for 20, 31 from the line. And Texas A&M missed 6 really, really big free throws that ultimately ended up costing them the game.
Well, the key is UCF got to the free throw line. They got there a lot.
Yeah.
31 free throws versus 14 for Texas A&M. And A&M only hit 57%. 71%, that's okay. For a college team, as long as you're over 70%, that's a pretty good day. So I can't really fault UCF on that one. They got to the line a lot. They converted most of them. Okay. but A&M really dropped the ball. They were not able to really get the inside and draw those shooting fouls. Because when you look at the other side, 37% for A&M, but they hit 6 more field goals than UCF. 23 versus 17. This was not a good shooting night. Let's be honest. UCF struggled out of the gates. They dropped pretty quickly. It was still in the first half, and it's already a double-digit game. You're not even at the midway point, and at that point, it's like, what are you going to do? But UCF didn't quit. They didn't quit, and they were able to start chipping away and start making some. They tied it at halftime.
Yeah.
A&M blows it open again, gets that double-digit lead, and then UCF starts chipping away once again. A&M went cold. They missed their last 10 shots and didn't score a field goal in the last 4 minutes and 52 seconds.
That's tough. That's real tough.
That's crazy. And UCF only hit 4 shots of their own during that time, but you know what? That's 8 points right there.
Yeah. Well, look, there were some unsung heroes in this one. One of the sung heroes was Darius Johnson. We're going to talk about his big day right after a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, UCF fans. It's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. Might it be Darius Johnson, Andrew?
Maybe.
He had a big game. So far this season, we pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change with the Roy app. You can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you can even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check Roy out on Instagram, Facebook, and on X at Roy_return_on-you for more info. This segment is also brought to you by friends at ZBiotics. Look, ZBiotics pre-alcohol drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. So if you went out celebrating after UCF took out Texas A&M, ZBiotics could have helped you out from the hangover here. Here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night and drink responsibly. So, step 1, drink pre-alcohol. Step 2, drink responsibly. And step 3, enjoy your morning hangover free. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off at checkout. We mentioned the rough shooting night from the field for the Knights, but Darius Johnson came through 5 for 11 from 3, Andrew. Incredible night for him. He led all scorers with 24 points. You need guys to step up if you're going to have big wins like this. Darius Johnson was that guy.
Yeah, and Darius Johnson has been the leading point guard of this team for multiple seasons. He's the big carryover guy. And he's been a bit of a polarizing player. When he's streaky, when he's on, and he started cold, and that's where guys like JJ Taylor came into play, helped spark things, and then he started heating up. Obviously 3 for 8 in the first half, but they were all 3-pointers. Had a couple more in the second half. What Johnson brings is that senior leadership that this team needs. A lot of transfers, so you want that guy that can help hold things together. As I said before, this is a go for broke team that Dawkins has put together, And Darius Johnson is one of the focal points of this offense. Mikey Williams surprisingly did not play. He was in a boot, and everyone was very disappointed because go online and look up videos on Mikey Johnson. This guy, Mikey Williams, and this guy can ball. He's absolutely amazing. He was one of the most highly sought after recruits. Ended up in Memphis. Things didn't work out. Came to UCF. Just watch this guy. He's a human highlight reel.
Yeah.
And to not see him start, it was disappointing. But hey, you work with what you got. And UCF did just that. They worked with what they got. Were they the better team talent-wise? No. But they took care of business. They were able to overcome the 16-8 deficit in offensive rebounds and made, and were able to be efficient in the second half when Texas A&M went cold.
Yeah, giving up that many offensive rebounds, that deficit usually will sink you. But, you can offset that. With 3-point shooting. Johnson, again, 5 for 11. And this is important because UCF only went 8 for 26 as a team. They hit 8 3-pointers. He had 5 of them. So he hit some big shots there that really helped them down the stretch. We talked about where they were picked to finish, but how does a game like this in closing change your outlook for the season, Andrew? Like, you get started with such a big top 15 win like this, you're picked to finish 11th. How does UCF parlay this momentum into a season that maybe fans didn't expect?
Well, as we know, UCF has only been to the NCAA tournament as an at-large once, and it was with Johnny Dawkins. So they've made a number of NIT appearances, but they never got back to the big dance. And this is where the pressure is kind of building up. So that's what this team is built for. They're built for a chance to get in there as an at-large. Last year, they were a bubble team for most of the year before they faded, still made the NIT. But this is a better talented roster, top to bottom. And if you can beat the number 13th team in the country on your season opener when you're not at full strength, hold on a little bit, take care of business, and the sky is the limit in what you can end up getting to as far as, getting ranked into the top 25, opening conference play with, with a bang. You're ranked 11th in the toughest conference in the land. And look at their upcoming games. They've got home game with IUP Fort Wayne, Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. I think it's actually now Purdue, Fort Wayne. They kind of broke them up. Florida Atlantic, who has had a good run, but this is not the same Florida Atlantic that went to, the Final Four. And then Tennessee Tech. Those are all home games before they go to the Greenbrier tip-off, which is one of those little in-season tournaments. So you have a chance to open 4-0. You have a ranked one under your belt. You may be in the top 25 by the time you get to that Greenbrier tip-off. Their first game is up against, Wisconsin, and then against Pitt or LSU. So we're talking, power conference schools at this point. Again, sky's the limit on this. There's some tough teams in there. But if you look at UCF's non-conference, it's outside of that, it's kind of soft.
Yeah.
They played Milwaukee. They played Cal Baptist. They played Tarleton State, Tulsa, Jacksonville, and then they start conference play, and then that's the gauntlet. But the majority of these games are all at home. They're not going to really hit the road all that much outside of that Greenbrier tournament.
Well, look, it's nothing like a good court storming to solve the football blues. Obviously, the Knights took home the win this past weekend on the football field, but nice to see B-ball getting off to a good start. Guys, that's it for Locked On UCF, a special basketball edition. Andrew, before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
You can catch me on Twitter/X at StatBoyDrew, and catch my writing on The Last Word of College Football, part of the Last Word on Sports family.
Guys, that's it. Thank you for making Locked On UCF your first listen of the day and your second listen in this case. For your third listen, go over to the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment news, and he holds no punches when it comes to covering every team in the Big 12. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can listen to us tomorrow on YouTube with more Locked On UCF.